Hi there, this is Magenta Pixie speaking. Somebody asked me the other day, do we still need channeling as a teaching tool, as a spiritual activation, the way to bring information into our reality? Do we still need channeling? Have we moved beyond it or moved above it, if you like? As in, can individuals simply just talk about the knowledge they receive without going into a channeling mode? Are we moving beyond channeling? So, what I would say to that is, as always, yes and no. From the perspective of yes, we are evolving into the situation where we are merging with the guidance system. So that's a metaphor really for the fact that more and more of these codons are being activated, or as the nine say, coming online. More and more of these synapses are being activated within the brain, within the DNA. So we are becoming consciously aware of the higher self aspect, the cosmic aspect, the aspect of ourself that is timeless, that has a connection to all that has ever happened and all that ever is happening and all that ever can happen, that aspect that is known as the Akashic records, or the history of all, or the divine Akash, many names for that. So we are merging with this aspect. So when we do, we are able to speak as ourselves without necessarily going into a channeling mode. So the evolution of our human self is the evolution into the full, expansive, organic human self, the organic human template, activating and connecting with that matrix. So we are moving into that. So looking at a channeling situation where someone is a individual human in the third dimension, and then they move into some kind of connection with a higher divine being or an extraterrestrial or a spirit guide, and then they bring forward that persona. In that respect, we're moving away from needing to do that. And there are many, I'm told from the nine, channeling here, I'm told there are many, many individuals that are doing this. They are channeling, if you like, without doing it in the traditional way, and yet they are speaking completely from the higher perspective without necessarily saying, I am channeling anything. They are simply standing as that merge. Yes, of course we are moving into that situation, absolutely. And there is also the perspective that there are some people who don't like channeling. It sort of puts them off. They think it's silly, or they just simply don't resonate with it. So for those people, it does help for, channels or spiritual teachers, or whatever name you want to call these individuals who are out there sharing their knowledge. It helps for them to speak as they are rather than going into a channeling mode. On the other hand, let's look at the perspective where the response to that is no, we're not moving away from channeling. So what I would say to that is, some of the channeling that is going on can be very entertaining, and entertainment makes individuals feel good. And there are certain individuals who enjoy and really resonate deeply with the entertainment factor, the sort of show factor of channeling. And I'm talking about individuals who change their persona when they connect with a higher dimensional guide, or the perspective of an individualized consciousness or another being. They change their voice, they change the way that they move, they may change their facial expressions, they may close their eyes. It's there's an entertainment factor for some people. Some people don't like it. Some people think it's silly and nonsense and they're not interested. Others really enjoy this. So if there is a group of people, however small, on this planet that enjoy this, then it's still going to be available, because those individuals are manifesting that into their reality by their enjoyment and by what they're asking for, as in their emotional calling, if you like. So we're not moving away from channeling because there are still people around who want it in that respect. And then there is, of course, the entertainment factor that draws in these individuals. So they watch this sort of show, if you like, where this individual connects. But the show itself is simply just the surface. When an individual moves into the channeling, however strange their voice may sound or however much they change their persona, a great many of these channeling individuals, these channels, are connecting with higher dimensional guides in extremely profound ways, regardless of how entertaining or funny that might look on a third dimensional level. And you only have to listen to the information coming forward or open up your psychic centers, if you like, your gut feeling, and feel the energy that's coming through the individual. So what that actually does, rather than being just entertaining, a sensitive individual will be able to feel the connection when these individuals channel in this way. And so this is a visual presentation of how it's done. Now, some people don't need that. They don't need to see a separate human individual channeling a being that is presented as separate to them. They don't want that. They want the unity. They want it all to come from self. And absolutely, this is where we are going. But some individuals like to see and need to see the separation of the entities, because the way that they are in their own expansion, which is neither ahead of these other individuals or behind these other individuals, it's just that they're in the same place, but they experience this connection differently in their perspective. They like to make sense of, there's a being here in the third dimension, a human being like me, that is able to switch a dial, change a frequency, and draw forward another consciousness, or an extraterrestrial, or a being, or whatever it may be. So there are individuals that need that. Speaking specifically for my own personal experience as a channel, well, as you know, I've been releasing information here on YouTube, channeled information, since 2008, and I have actually been channeling the white-winged collective consciousness of 9, and prior to that they were a different dimensional aspect of themselves, a spirit guide by the name of White Spirit, and that happened in 1993. So it's been happening a long time for me. There is definitely an evolution, and I do feel that that merge is going on with me, so that I can actually speak to people and bring forward the energetic that I know is the 9, because I'm now aware that that is the activation of the DNA in the brain, and the change in brain waves, and the switching on of codons, or whatever words you want to use. I'm aware of that, so I can bring that forward. And also, you may have noticed that recently I've been doing a lot more videos where it's just me talking rather than the 9. And some people may like that. I've had some positive comments about these videos where it's just me talking, not scripted, no actual channeling going on, just me as Magenta Pixie speaking as I am. Some people like that. Other people are just drawn to the channeling. I didn't want to make videos where I was just talking, actually, because I really love the connection with the 9, and I love channeling, and I feel that it's my mission. But somebody suggested to me that I do make some videos, where I just talk and perhaps mull over some topics and answer some questions as me rather than as the 9. And I was reluctant because I'm so focused on the channeling. This is my mission. But I thought, well, yes, I will. And I've quite enjoyed it, actually. It's a different way of bringing forward information, and I think as many ways as you can bring forward information is great, because you may reach a different group of people that may not necessarily like channeling, so I can see that point of view. But for me personally, and I really feel that there are many individuals that will resonate with this, that are moving into a channeling experience. For me personally, channeling is the way that I learn. That's how I have managed to accumulate this knowledge, and this is how I've been able to receive this information. It's the way that my expansion has worked. So while I'm aware that the nine and myself, Magenta Pixie, we are separate beings, for we have our own individualized consciousness, or rather the nine have their own collective consciousness, I know we are separate beings. And I feel that. But at the same time, I'm aware of the unity in the self. I'm aware that that is my expansion, my connection is the nine and all that they are. It's that aspect of all of us that we can all tap into, that every single person on the entire planet has, including animals and plants, and every single structure has this ability to find that connection with that aspect, because that aspect is one aspect, one particle, one consciousness, and it's in all things, and even in ideas and concepts, and even in language, and even in information itself. Information itself is a living consciousness. So while I'm aware of all that, this is the way that I learn, for me personally. So just being me as Magenta, and perhaps thinking and surmising and mulling over concepts in my mind, or maybe researching, that's a great way to learn, yes, but to actually make the connection with that construct, that consciousness, as an entity in itself, and allow it to communicate with me as if we are two separate entities, which on that perspective we are, that has been my learning curve, because that's the way I've been able to communicate with that aspect. And so I can ask a question. Dear Nine, I have a question. I have a problem. I have an issue. I have a concept I don't understand. Please, will you enlighten me, if you like? And so they will come back with, Dear Magenta, or, as it usually is on my videos, Dear Pixie. And that's how this started. It was very much a letter, if you like, when I sat down to start to write, a letter from them to me. Dear Pixie, you asked us this question, and here is our response. And when I go into the altered state of consciousness that many psychics may know as a light trance, that's kind of me. I'm not a deep trance channel. I do this through light trance, which is a slightly altered state of consciousness. And that slightly altered state of consciousness is akin to when you're on stage performing, when you're an actor, somebody who may be deeply involved in creating music, somebody who may be playing music, somebody who may be writing a story. There are many ways. Someone in prayer. There are many ways to move into this light trance, if you like. It is just a slight alteration of consciousness where an expansion is felt. If you are a sensitive individual, you will feel that expansion. So when that occurs, I then see see reality through the eyes of the Nine, if you like. And because I'm able to open up more than my eyes, more than just sight, and work with the entire energetic system, I feel reality through the senses of the Nine, which is simply a frequency. And looking at a structure like an animal, or looking at a person, or looking at a geometric, crystalline shape pulsating with light, it's all the same thing through the eyes of the Nine. Different frequencies, different vibrations, but it's all the same thing. So being able to take myself into that perspective, that is what actually happens. There's kind of a duality when it comes to processing. There's an aspect of me that is in a state of knowing. There's another aspect of me that's in a state of absolutely not knowing at all, and they're both working together at the same time. So for me, being able to record what is coming through when I'm in the state of knowing, as the 9, whether that's writing, speaking, however it may be. Usually it's writing for me. Then afterwards, I can then look at what I have written or spoken from the third dimensional perspective as Magenta Pixie, and then analyze that. What's actually happening here is the right hemisphere of the brain is activating, and the perspective within me is coming forward, if you like, is perceiving the world through the right hemisphere of the brain activity. For me to be able to use the right hemisphere of the brain activity and the left hemisphere of the brain activity at this exact same time is the goal. That is the path we are on for. That is ascension, that is enlightenment, that is full realization, full actualization, whatever word you want to use. But I personally, at this moment, I'm not there yet to be able to do this. So I do it in a kind of a different way. The right hemisphere activation occurs for a while, and then I pull back and move into the left hemisphere of the brain. And then that's the analysis of the information or the conceptual connection through the right hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain is able to analyze that. So you're still working with both hemispheres of the brain equally, the masculine and the feminine, but you're just not doing it at exactly the same time. But you can sometimes. Sometimes you can do this at the same time, and sometimes I do find I can do this. So there's analysis and connection going on simultaneously. But the reason why I present my work in a channeled sense is that's how I learn. That's how I have learned these concepts. Therefore, I feel it's a good thing to present the work in the way I've learned it. And also, the main issue for me is when I communicate with this aspect that present as a collective consciousness, and they say, we wish to present our messages through you. It's not just about my learning. It's not just about my message. It's about the message to anyone who wants to listen. So that is the 9's objective or intention, or that is the 9's reason for being the 9. The consciousness that is the 9, that reason for being is to bring forward these messages. And the reason for that is they've been asked to, not just by me, but by this critical mass within humanity, which is why there are so many channels. So the person who asked me the question, do we still need channeling? The answer is no. We are merging. We are able to access this symmetrical balance between the left and the right hemispheres of our brain. Or we could use the metaphor, the heart and the pineal gland, third eye, and the crown chakra, whichever metaphor we want to use. So no, we don't need channeling, but is it still a useful tool? Is it still relevant? Yes. Now this may well change, and there may come a time when no one needs to channel anymore because they are aware of that unity and that oneness and that merge. Therefore everyone will already be human, and everyone will simultaneously be higher guides, extraterrestrial beings, whatever you wish to call it. So the person who asked me the question, do we still need channeling, is a person that is aware of this change. This person can see this change. This person can see what's occurring on the planetary scale. And this person's obviously having these merges going on within them. So for them, they're aware that they're on that journey. On the other side of things, I will say that channeling is everything that we do. We're all channeling. We all go into these altered states. Every time we dream and we pick up information in our dream and we wake up and we suddenly realize something or we remember something, that's a form of channeling. So that's my response to that question. Do we still need channeling? And my response is yes and no from different perspectives. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a lovely day. Bye. What is the Matrix? Who are the masters? I, Magenta Pixie, am so very pleased to present my first book, channeled from my guidance system that I refer to as the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of Nine. Discover the true story of our origins as an energy system, how we lost the original template for our destiny, and how we are now in the process of remembering those lost codes. Learn how humanity may reclaim the sovereignty which is rightfully ours, bringing us back into wholeness, integration, and full understanding of who we are, what we are, why we are here, and what we are here to do. Spirituality, metaphysics, and science merge as the sacred geometry, known as the language of light, is downloaded and decoded. The realization and activation of these ancient codes for a new dawn of man is an alchemical process available to us all. Now is the time that collectively we move forward into a fully conscious ascension and embrace the new archetype of Master of the Matrix.